Good morning, everybody. John Spielkel here from GAI Insights, coming to you from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where I'm staying with my brother-in-law. Beautiful up here. Anyway, we got a Gen AI news briefing today, rating top news that's essential, important, or merely optional, and occasionally we say super optional. We have a lot going on today. We've got 7 or 8 articles on Kosh. If you could get the first one up, we've got everything from information about OpenAI's new revenue, which is over $3 billion, down to a very wordy, lengthy article on how you can't replace engineering entirely, which I happen to think is super optional, but we'll find out, and everything in between. So, Ankash, please start us off.
Sure, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from Databricks and Shutterstock. So Databricks and Shutterstock are launching a new image generation model, which is trained on Shutterstock's pictures. And this is the first model that hasn't scraped everything from internet to train their image generation models.
They actually care about copyright. What a concept. Luda, what do you think?
Well, I was between optional and important and thought we should put important on it. It is critical for the marketing departments and the enterprises to use images in the marketing campaigns. And it has been really an open question of how to avoid a lawsuit, even though the vendors said that they will protect the enterprises. However, it hasn't been tested and it was an open question still. So this is a great effort to really avoid that. Even though you are limited to the photos of this particular vendor, right? But it's a good step in the right direction. So, but I think it is important news for the enterprises.
Okay, important news, legal access to this. Tim, where are you on this?
I think it's optional, honestly. It is an important development in the industry at one level. It's not that relevant to day-to-day stuff, except as Luda says, if you're in marketing and things, probably more relevant. But I think this is what we're going to see. We the first generation, what I've called, the dog catches car folks, OpenAI and people like that, they're fixing it from behind by offering indemnification. The second wave is going to do this. They're just going to solve the problem through the training data. And that's what's happening. And I think we'll see more of this.
You give an optional, Paul. You're optional as well? I can't hear you.
No, 100% agree with Tim. Optional, but it is an important part of the next wave. Well stated, Tim.
Yeah, but that was interesting to see the fact that it was a vendor that went in and did it, Databricks.
Yeah.
In terms of that you have content. It kind of reminds me of the early days of, AOL and so forth, the internet, trying to figure out, is it content? Is it access? What is it exactly?
Yeah.
I came down more on important as a good solution. So let's give it the big I. Important.
Tim, thanks for playing, but John's got the chalk today.
No, it's 2 to 2. It's 2. Luda and I. Okay.
Somebody's got to decide.
I was important. And it's not a democracy. Come on.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, John, for supporting me.
It's kind of think of me as the executive branch.
Okay.
Sometimes you guys need 2/3.
Or think of him as management.
All right. Next. Okay. What's our next up?
Okay, the next one is an evaluation platform from LiveBench. So it is offering contamination-free test data and objective scoring.
Well, I believe I gave this bad boy to Paul. Although, Luda, we're going to come to you soon because I know how you love metrics.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Luda, should I ask John what I'm voting here?
Yeah. Paul, go ahead.
Ankash, if you scroll down, I thought the graph was notable here. So I had this as it's hard to read. I had this optional. I do think it's interesting that we continue to see on these different attempts to normalize performance among these models. That they have the blue there are the closed models and still outperforming some of the open source, but the open source are starting to increase more. But optional for the AI leader, and an important development, and trying to find more commonality across these.
All right. So we got to vote for optional. Tim, where are you on this?
Bingo. I mean, the idea of benchmarking is great. The reality is we don't know what we're benchmarking. So all these benchmarks are interesting at one level, but they don't really tell you, I need to use it in my enterprise to do X. How's it going to do? No idea until you actually try it. So they're somewhat helpful in at least maybe broad categorizations, but we just don't know how it reflects on actual performance.
What do you think, Luda?
Well, I'm probably an outlier. I want to put important on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll down, Ankash, for the enterprises section down there. So what they're trying to do, Tim, is actually put objective metrics, meaning they have an answer that is a objectively correct answer. And there's 900 some of those questions that they're planning to maintain and add to it. So I think if let's put ourselves in the enterprise leader who is trying to select a model, not that you're going to go through this test, but you would look at the scores of how this model does among this tests. And if you have an objective test, it's certainly a step in the right direction. So I feel that we need to tell leaders that this exists. Yeah, it's nascent, but this exists. And this is now an objective metrics to evaluate across. So I just think it is an important news.
Yeah, I think it's important as well. But in the spirit of the insurrection being led by my co-founder Paul here, I'll see if we can go more democratic. Adam, where are you on this? Do you have an opinion?
I am. I came in at optional. I agree. It's a good effort at some, I guess, more quantitative metrics around benchmarking. But I'm still in the camp of, look, I'm not going to select my model based on these metrics. I'm going to have to take a model. I'm going to have to apply a use case. I'm going to have to test it, and I'm going to have to make sure it works for what I need it to do. So these things just aren't really enough. There isn't enough meat on the bones in terms of what these are even telling us for it to really be that valuable, in my opinion.
All righty. Well, we're going for an optional then. All right. I think Ashish would agree. Says that the enterprises should have their own models and should.
That's true.
They're not very good. They're not that helpful inside the enterprise. All right, Ankash. Ashish has said that. If you could give us the next one, New Freedoms of Imagination with the Dream Machine.
Yeah. So Dream Machine is a new AI model or a video generation model launched by Luma Labs. So it's a OpenAI Sora competitor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Tim, what did you think on this one? Oh, sorry.
It looks
yes
beautiful. I didn't have time to, you have to register and everything to try it out. So I didn't have time to do that. It's like a movie, right? The trailers are fantastic. If the movie lives up to the trailer, it's going to be amazing. And but I can't say much more than that. So I'd say optional. It's a product announcement. These products are already great at a first order, given their first products.
Yep.
We'll see where they go.
All righty. So just another quart of milk on the shelf here. Is that the story? Paul, you agree? All right. You're muted, but we'll take that as a yes.
I agree.
All right. Luda, any objection to giving this an optional and moving on?
It's beautiful, though, but it's optional.
All righty. Optional it is.
Optional
beauty.
Let me jump in with one interesting observation here. So, so Luma Labs is known for their app where you can take your phone and you can walk through your home and basically make a 3D map of it.
Right.
So it's really interesting, especially with Sora being described as a world model, that someone who's known for doing 3D mapping is coming out with a video generation program. It alludes in many ways to sort of where the developments are going with the technology. This is optional news. It is out there, and I've seen literally hundreds of examples, and everyone's saying first shots are amazing. It's definitely living up to the hype. But generally speaking, it's still optional news.
Yeah, Ashish is telling us when he was playing with it yesterday, it's got pretty rudimentary physics.
Yeah,
So-
they even noted on their front page they have some issues. They still have some issues with morphing and physics and things like that. So
Don't we all?
But Tim,
Yeah.
despite any bugs or issues, launch it anyway. Get it out there. Get the press going.
Well, but it's more the fundamental thing with these algorithms and systems, right? They are never perfect, and the question is, how close does it have to be useful? And this looks like it could be quite useful, but we'll have to see. Just an announcement.
All righty, give it the big O. Akash, next.
Okay, the next one comes from Stack Overflow, and they want to make a case that generative AI can do a lot of things, but you still need to build your engineering team to build proper software for you.
All right, well, this one for me was, I think, generated by a machine, but that's my opinion. Luda, what do you think about this article?
It's a longish article. Certainly, if it's written by AI, but it was written by an engineer. So it seems like he had a tree. If not this, if then that. Yeah.
I believe, but
Yeah. So, but I put it as optional. However, he makes really good points about a topic that is not just for software engineering across, of how the labor structure will change, right? And his arguments are very good. In software engineering, as many of us who have built really complex systems like a compiler, you need a diverse team to really be knowledgeable about pieces of that, especially when you put it all together and put it into staging process, right? Then it shows mistakes that you need to fix overnight, right? So it makes an important point that you need to train these guys from the bottom up in your specific area of software and the like. So it is not a simple replacement. An LLM, granted it can generate code, but we know it's not necessarily good code, and it can propagate mistakes. So it is an interesting article. I will put it as I'm putting it as optional, but it raises a lot of good questions of how the labor force will be restructured.
Yeah, Luda, I agree with you in the interesting article. I don't know who put the title on this. I think the title is stupid. I think it's naive. I think anyone's built software to have a title like this is, I wish the title had been more like what you said. Gen AI is changing the structure of software development teams or the compensation. But this continued notion, I was at 4 conferences in the last 3 weeks, and this notion that AI is going to do everything for you, no matter how complex the thing is, just some human notion that I can't believe I hear it so many times. It's really, I need to stop being frustrated by it, but we're going to have AI do all our sales. It's going to code everything, and we just go sip martinis on the beach here is just naive.
Right, totally.
Yeah,
I guess we've said enough. I could give a long diatribe about this article because it's right. There's one core message that's important here, which is that we are changing the social structure of work, period. It's not just software engineering.
Right.
Most work is learned through apprenticeship. And if we take that apprenticeship away by replacing lower levels with AI, what happens? It's an interesting question, but we've done this many times before, by the way. It can be quite disruptive at a social level, but ultimately we will have a new social organization and new levels of mentorship unless we get rid of all the humans, which seems unlikely anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
So that's the big point, I think, to me, is we are going to be disrupting a lot of the current mentorship and apprentice structures, and we're going to have to reinvent them. And that is not a trivial process.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
This particular article about software engineering, and there's so many problems with it. I don't know where to begin.
And maybe for that we should put it as important, actually, because it's well written. I mean, it's long, but it's long, but it makes good points.
John's going to decide, Luda.
Yeah, it's optional.
There you go.
If you're interested, if you're interested, I'm interested in learning and eclectic and arcane things. So I like to read this kind of stuff. But for the harried leader, this is super optional.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lovely book from 1990 by a woman named Shoshana Zuboff that it's called In the Age of the Smart Machine, and it does a great job of talking about the human challenges of becoming digital as opposed to
Great book,
analog.
and she is a very smart woman. Yep.
Yeah, she is.
Very well.
All righty. Ankaj, what's up next? That's an optional. We've got a big O optional.
Yeah. So the next one comes from together.ai. So they have launched a new model called Together MOA. So it's a new kind of a mixture of agents model.
Yes. Yeah, here we are with the MOA group of experts here. Let me see who I asked to go after. This one is Paul.
Yeah. So this article talks about, this whole what's the new frontier looking like, where there's multiple agents or multiple large language models, and I think it's an important trend. Obviously, I think this particular article is optional. I mean, if it's agents as librarians versus sources of truth, agents managing agent, I think we're so early in this, but it's optional for now.
Yeah. Okay. Got one for optional.
Yeah, I agree. It's an important. This is another example of new models being invented all the time. And this one is intriguing because they got quite a bit of good performance with very little effort from open source models that are able to now compete with some of the best closed source models. So it's really interesting. And it, John, for you and I, especially, more and more Marvin Minsky Society of Mind kind of stuff and mixtures of various experts. And to Stephen Wolfram's point, I think it's hard for the Dave Reeds and the Gary Marcuses, the anti-LLMers, to say there's nothing interesting happening here. To be interesting to see what their reaction to this kind of thing is, because according to them, this shouldn't happen, right? It's just stochastic parrots, and it shouldn't get that much better. But it got a lot better, and it did things that I think are surprising. So it's interesting, but not relevant in the day-to-day yet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to make the case for important, because mostly because of the performance. I mean, it's outperforming GPT Omni, right? For Omni, and I don't know of another model that outperforms that.
Yep.
Anybody know of another model that outperforms GPT-4 Omni?
No, but John, I think it's still optional, because this is a very, you're not, if you're an enterprise, you're not going to go do that, right? To try to put the models into the suggester and they integrate that type of thing.
Yeah, it depends, I think, on the sophistication of your enterprise. I think you're right, Luda, for the average enterprise that doesn't know much about machine learning and is, working with Microsoft or working with Oracle or somebody, they're not going to attack this. But actually, if you have a machine learning group in your organization, you look at this, John's got a good point. It's although, John, I don't think it was cheaper at the end of the day, because they have so many models, the compute cost of the APIs.
Yeah, I couldn't see if it was cheap or not. I don't know. Like Paul, I'm thinking about our AI leader over at the medical device company, and he'd want to read this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right.
All right.
With a little more sensitivity, I'm going to make this important. Having heard all the perspectives.
Tim, he's taking me back to my Catholic grade school and high school with a little more sensitivity. Sister Marie Rosaire is going to smack my hands for misspelling the word.
Well, John, you might end up being alone on this show.
I'm alone on this one. Okay, I won't go that far. All right, we're going to make it on.
John changed my mind. I have the ability to listen and learn.
There we are. See, okay,
I'm with it.
All right. Okie dokie. We're going to give that important. Sankana? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Sakna.ai. So it's a Japanese Gen AI company, and they have done some research around how LLMs can invent better ways to train LLMs.
Here we are. I love the little digital fish there. Let's see. I think I gave this to Timothy.
Yeah, so this is another interesting thing, just like the one we just discussed, where they're using evolutionary computing, which has been used on and off for a long time, and in a really interesting way, because they're attacking alignment, which is right now a very labor-intensive job, mostly done by humans. And they've found a way to use LLMs to effectively generate proposals and then evaluate proposals and improve the alignment substantially. So it's a research paper. I got to give it an optional because of that, but it's a really interesting one. So I would say, if you have time, you should read this because it's important to understand where these things are going. But it's not going to be a product that doesn't look like tomorrow.
All right, so we have an optional in a important vein of thinking. Anything else? Anybody
See,
make the case important?
John, if we gave the last one important in terms of power of making an LLM better, this one has more power because it goes at the guts of the loss function in the transformer, and it optimizes it, or it suggests new ways to optimize it. So over time, this will make the models way better and cost effective because it will be trained for that. So I think if anybody wants to read stuff, they should read both of those articles because it fundamentally changes what can happen with LLMs.
Okay,
so in my book, I wouldn't send somebody to read such a technical article, but I think it is a very important development.
All right, Adam, where are you on this one? I don't think you can hear us, Paul. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. I had it as optional. I don't know. I think it is. It's just. I agree. These are very interesting things, and if someone has the time and they want to keep up on sort of some of the latest evolution in the research and the thinking around these things, these are both good to be looking at. But I think it's just a little too far out there for the day-to-day executive.
Yeah, I criticize Adam. I agree for the executive. So, but I think to be fair, we just talked about two methods, right, of improving LLMs. We ranked one important, and we're saying this is optional. I think, guys, we need to be consistent.
Yeah,
I can argue the other side of that because as John pointed out, the prior article shows benchmarking at least superior to ChatGPT-4. That's significant because nobody's been able to do that with a open source model. This one, we can talk about loss functions till we're blue in the face, but they're loss functions. That just means it's a better approximation. It doesn't mean it's great, and it's not even clear how much better it is. It should be better, and the alignment issue could be big because that's one of the most expensive and complex issues with LLMs today. But it's not clear. It's a research paper with some early findings.
Yeah, it's to me it was more of an approach than an implementation and evaluation.
Right.
And so that for me, that's how I separated the two in my mind, Ludo. All right, so all right, we're going to go optional. Optional it is, ladies and gentlemen. We made a decision. We are now down to the last one with beautiful Sam Altman running around the world. He's now got. Go for it, Ankash.
Yeah. So this last one talks about how OpenAI has an annualized revenue of $3.4 billion, and it has doubled since late 2023. And most of this revenue comes from ChatGPT subscriptions and developers using OpenAI's APIs.
Gotcha. I will note that most of the pictures of Sam Altman seem to have him vacating somewhere, golf, tennis, outside. Anyway, I rarely see the man working. Luda, what do you think?
I think it's optional. I think it's great for OpenAI. It's interesting news. I'm surprised that they've amassed such a big revenue and doubled. I I was thinking they're in the 1 billion, maybe 800 million, somewhere there.
Mhm.
3 billion is a big number. And at the end of the article, it's comparing it to others, Anthropic and Cohere.
Yes.
And in 23, their revenue was way lower. So good for OpenAI, but optional.
We don't even
Yeah.
know if it's true. It is on the internet, so it must be true.
Yeah. Well, I thought I had this option as well. One of the things I thought was in there, again, if it's true, is the $200 million they got from Microsoft, which was 25% of Microsoft's volume. So it's saying that Microsoft's bringing in 800 million in revenue associated with the OpenAI model.
Yep.
Which is a much smaller number than I expected.
Yeah.
So, and just the dominance compared to the other models of OpenAI. Again, if these numbers are right. All right, optional it is. Ankash, what do we have?
Yeah, John, before I bring up the slide, so
Sure.
there's another speculation going on related to OpenAI and recent Apple's announcement. So the speculation is that OpenAI is not, or Apple is not paying OpenAI anything for the ChatGPT access that
Right.
Apple is getting from it.
Right. And if that's
Somehow Tim Cook
true,
has convinced Sam Altman that we provide you the access and you provide us the features and functionalities.
right. And if that's true, that's enormous because a lot of people are going to stop paying $20 a month if they have an iPhone because they have free access to it. So we'll see. Again, these are all rumors. But who knows what?
But I did want to note, I mean, it's breathtaking that when to see them get that billion, which they did last year. This is true, Tim. They're going to be a $5 billion company here in a couple of years. I mean, $5 billion is now a material company here, and you can buy a lot of $1 to $4 million a year. The AI engineers are going from now. You can gut the top talent at the open source movement, bring it to yours. I mean, it's really. It's breathtaking. And I think to me, it's particularly breathtaking now that we're into, 2 years into this Gen AI movement, and they continue to be, they're like my Celtics. They continue to be in the lead. People are coming at them, but they still are the dominant big dog in the market right now in terms of performance and revenue.
So far.
Yeah. How about those Celtics, huh? All righty. Here we are. Nothing essential. You gotta love the Celtics. Nothing essential. We have Databricks as important. We have the multiple agents as important, and the rest is optional today. So we have a relatively light news day, but a little bit of even gossip going on. So kind of some fun. All right. Anything important to talk about?
Just a few things for our audience. We're going to be kind of formally kicking off the update to our corporate buyer's guide to large language models next week. So that's going to kick off a season of product briefing updates to vendors. And we continue to have lots of good interest in our Generative AI World 2024 conference, October 7th and 8th in Boston. It's really, I'm not sure what's happened in the market in the last week and a half, but we have gotten a lot of inbound speaker requests, exhibitor requests, sponsor requests. It's going to be a fantastic conference this fall.
It really will be. Great. Anything else from anybody? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, see you tomorrow. Bye from GAI Insights.
Have a good day.